Was or early signs of dementia you should never ignore. Let's talk about a form of dementia that's often overlooked. Frontotemporal dementia, or FTD. It's not as well known as Alzheimer's, and that's part of the problem. While Alzheimer's usually starts with memory loss, FTD shows up in a completely different and often confusing way. It changes how a person acts, speaks, and even how they relate to the people around them. Imagine someone who's always been quiet and polite, suddenly becoming loud, inappropriate, or impulsive. Or someone who used to be warm and caring, now seems cold and distant, even with their own family. These kinds of shifts are easy to dismiss. You might think it's just stress, aging, or a personality change. But in reality, it could be one of the first signs of FTD. And the sooner we recognize these symptoms, the better we can support those affected. Welcome to Science of Wellness, where we believe one spark of awareness can lead to a lifetime of better health. Tap that like button and subscribe, so we can keep bringing you helpful tips for a stronger, healthier. In today's video, we'll take a closer look at frontotemporal dementia, what it is, how it impacts everyday life, and the 10 early warning signs you need to know. What exactly is frontotemporal dementia (FTD)? Frontotemporal dementia, or FTD, is a brain disorder that affects the frontal and temporal lobes, the parts of your brain that control things like personality, decision-making, behavior, and how we use language. When those areas start to break down, it doesn't just change what a person remembers, it changes who they are. What makes FTD especially tough is that it tends to show up much earlier than Alzheimer's. We're talking about people in their late 40s, 50s, or early 60s, folks who are still raising kids, working full-time and living what should be the prime years of their lives. And when something starts to feel off, it's often mistaken for stress, depression, or even a midlife crisis. Because it's less common than Alzheimer's, FTD is often misdiagnosed, sometimes for years. But catching it early can make a huge difference, especially when it comes to getting the right kind of care and support. Now let's walk through the 10 early signs of FTD. These changes usually come on slowly, which is why they can fly under the radar at first. But over time they can deeply affect not just the person experiencing them, but everyone around them. 1. Changes in appetite and eating habits. One of the early signs of FTD is a noticeable shift in how a person eats. Some folks suddenly develop intense cravings, especially for sweet or high-carb foods. Others may start eating compulsively, going through large amounts of food without realizing they've already had enough. On the flip side, some people forget to eat altogether or no longer recognize when they're full, which can lead to weight gain or loss. If you're a caregiver, you might try offering smaller, more frequent meals and swapping in healthier options to help satisfy those cravings. Creating a consistent mealtime routine can also bring a sense of structure and reduce confusion. Sudden personality shifts. One of the earliest and most confusing signs of FTD is a change in personality. Someone who used to be quiet and reserved might suddenly become loud, overly talkative, or say things that feel out of line. A kind, caring person may start acting cold or insensitive, and people who once took pride in their work might lose all interest, even in things they used to love. At first, these changes can seem like stress, burnout, or just getting older. But if the behavior feels off and it keeps happening, don't ignore it. If your gut's telling you something isn't right, even if you can't explain it, it's worth paying attention. Poor judgment and risky decisions. Another red flag for FTD is a sudden drop in good judgment, especially when it comes to money. Someone who was once careful with their finances might start making reckless choices. We're talking about things like overspending, gambling, falling for obvious scams, or giving away large sums of money without any explanation. These decisions can come out of nowhere and leave families scrambling to fix the damage. That's why it's so important to step in early. Putting safeguards in place like monitoring accounts, limiting financial access, or setting up power of attorney can go a long way in protecting your loved one and their future. Struggling with complex tasks. People with FTD often start having trouble with tasks that used to come easily, especially ones that involve planning, problem-solving, or multitasking. Paying bills, following step-by-step instructions, or even learning how to use a new phone or remote can suddenly feel overwhelming. At work, projects that once felt routine might now seem impossible to manage. Catching this early and offering support, like breaking tasks into smaller steps, can help your loved one stay independent and confident for as long as possible. And apathy and emotional withdrawal. One of the clearest signs of FTD is apathy. A deep lack of motivation that goes beyond just feeling off. Someone who used to love hobbies, socializing, or spending time with family might suddenly stop caring altogether. They may not start conversations, show interest in plans, or even react emotionally to things happening around them. This isn't depression, it's different. With FTD, there's no sadness or guilt, just emotional flatness. They don't seem upset. They just don't seem, and that's what can be so hard to understand. It's important for families to recognize this isn't laziness or a choice, it's the disease. Offering gentle encouragement, simple routines, and structured activities can help. But go in with patience and realistic expectations. Loss of empathy. One of the more painful signs of FTD is a noticeable loss of empathy. You might see someone respond inappropriately to serious situations, like laughing during bad news, or seem totally indifferent when a loved one is upset. They may no longer comfort others, show concern, or pick up on emotional cues like they used to. As hard as it is, it's important to remember, this isn't them being rude or heartless. It's the disease affecting the parts of the brain responsible for emotional understanding. For families, this can feel isolating, but you're not alone. Joining a support group and learning new ways to communicate can help you stay connected and navigate this difficult shift together. Lack of self-awareness. One of the trickiest parts of FTD is that the person affected often has no idea anything's wrong, while people with other forms of dementia may notice their memory slipping. Those with FTD usually don't recognize the changes in their behavior, thinking, or judgment. This lack of insight can make it incredibly tough to get them to a doctor, or even talk to them about what's going on. The key here is to approach things with patience and care, not confrontation. Try framing medical visits as regular checkups, or focus on the benefits of getting expert advice. A gentle, supportive tone can go a long way in opening the door to proper care. Socially inappropriate behavior. As FTD progresses, people often lose their filter. They might say offensive things, ignore personal space, or act in ways that feel totally out of line with normal social behavior. For caregivers, these moments can be heartbreaking and embarrassing, especially when they feel like they're constantly explaining or apologizing for their loved one's actions. But here's the thing, these behaviors aren't intentional. They're part of the disease. Working with dementia specialists can help you manage these situations. And just as important, educating friends and family about FTD can create a more understanding, supportive circle around you, one that replaces judgment with compassion. Unusual, repetitive behaviors. People with FTD often develop odd, repetitive habits that can seem confusing to those around them. They might insist on walking the same route over and over, constantly rearrange objects in a specific way, or follow strict routines, like eating food in a particular order, or refusing to eat unless things are just right. These rituals can feel strange, but they often give the person a sense of control in a world that's becoming harder to understand. Trying to stop these behaviors can actually cause more frustration than it solves. A better approach? Make sure their environment is safe, and let them carry out these routines as long as they're not harmful. It can ease stress for everyone involved. One person-to-person ways, language problems are a common and early sign of FTD. At first, the person might struggle to find the right words, mix up terms, or use very general language, like thing or stuff. As time goes on, their speech may become more broken or repetitive. They might say the same phrase over and over, or echo what others just said. In later stages, some people may lose the ability to speak altogether. While that can be tough to witness, there are ways to help using pictures, simple gestures, or speaking in a calm, clear tone can make a big difference. A speech therapist can also offer strategies to help preserve communication skills for as long as possible. What should you do if you notice these signs? If you've noticed any of these symptoms in yourself or someone close to you, don't wait. Talk to a doctor. Getting an early diagnosis of frontotemporal dementia can open the door to better treatment options, support resources, and time to plan ahead with clarity and compassion. There may not be a cure yet, but early action can help preserve quality of life, protect relationships, and provide peace of mind for both the person affected and their family. Caring for someone with FTD is no small task. It can be emotionally and physically exhausting. That's why it's so important to take care of yourself too. Lean on your support network. Take breaks when you need them. And don't be afraid to ask for help. Caregiver support groups can offer real guidance, comfort, and connection during tough times. Thanks for being here with us today. Stay informed, stay kind, and keep the conversation going. Together we can raise awareness and bring more understanding to those facing FTD. And if this video helped you, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and let us know in the comments what topics you'd like us to cover next. We're here for you.